Cancer is common. The Cancer Research UK states that between 2016 and 2018, there were at least 375,000 individuals who received a diagnosis of cancer each year, which means 1,000 people received a diagnosis of cancer each day. That is a big number. It's a devastating diagnosis to have. It's a devastating illness to have. And it not only affects an individual, but impacts on the entire family. From personal experience, I know that when I received the diagnosis, my entire family felt completely aggrieved about it. My husband did not sleep for weeks on end. And sometimes, even now, he worries that it might come back. It is more difficult for the carers on occasion, as opposed to the individual who has received the diagnosis. No doubt it affects individuals' mental well-being, depression, anxiety. All these conditions are very common. Anxiety while waiting for the diagnosis when the investigations have happened. Anxiety and depression sometimes after receiving the diagnosis. Anxiety while waiting for treatments. Anxiety and depression while undergoing treatments. And after the treatment, even after the cancer is in remission, individuals experience feelings of anxiety. Will it come back? Feelings of loss through certain organs, loss of certain functions, loss of their role on occasion. There are multitude of things that do happen following treatment as well. So no doubt it affects an individual's well-being. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Tom Willsher.
Thank you very much.
Tom is going to talk to us about cancer and anxiety and depression and how we can manage our mental well-being at such difficult times. Tom, would you like to say something about yourself?
Thank you, yes. So I'm Tom Willsher. I work for and run Winchester GP with my wife, Gemma, which we set up about 7.5 years ago. We very much enjoy doing the very best healthcare that we can promptly via Winchester GP. It's a real pleasure to be here today, Shania, and thank you for inviting me along. You're quite right that I have personal and professional experience of cancer. It is increasingly common, but it is worth noting that people are increasingly living with cancer and surviving cancer these days, but it does almost inevitably generate significant anxiety both for the sufferer and their family and loved ones, and that can be very challenging to manage, but I do feel that one can make the choice to proactively manage that anxiety and make choices that can really help both the anxiety and potentially the outcomes.
So Tom, you probably do this on a daily basis. You see people who've just received a diagnosis of cancer with their loved ones. What advice do you give individuals who have just received that diagnosis? It's quite a shock, isn't it? It's a shock for everybody. Yeah. What advice do you give individuals? Of course, you know, the whole cancer management pathway kicks in fairly quickly, but obviously the mental health or mental well-being aspect of it is often not thought about. And how do you help individuals navigate through that?
Yes, you're right. The NHS is well set up for managing cancer these days, and in particular has a 2-week wait pathway, which I think is sensitive and attends promptly to the needs of particularly the sufferer. But the management of the emotional side is potentially somewhat lacking or left to individuals and their families. I take a very sympathetic approach and a holistic approach, and I think it's worth initially saying when that diagnosis is delivered, be together, try and communicate well. When there are medical appointments, take someone with you, a loved one, a trusted loved one or a family member who can listen to the things that are being said, which is often quite functional medical language and can be confusing, but it's well recognised that if somebody goes into an appointment by themselves, they may take away about 20% of what's said at that appointment. But if there's someone with you, between you can take away as much as 80% of the content of that consultation. And that can also, if there's someone else there, that can also help to sort of have someone else there asking the right questions in the throes of a difficult emotive consultation. One person might forget. I would refer more generally to the pillars of well-being. How do we look after ourselves to manage anxiety in a difficult time? And broadly, those pillars of well-being would be nutrition or diet, exercise, sleep, and community. And all of them are important. Now, nutrition, if we start with sleep, most people know that if they don't sleep well, the next day it is more challenging, it doesn't feel as good. There's a very quick feedback from not sleeping.
Yet it's something that's affected quite quickly when you receive a diagnosis, right? Because the brain starts ruminating, overthinking, what if? There are so many what ifs, and quite rightly too, isn't it? So sleep is actually affected. So what advice would you
in this situation, the human brain is not kind to us. It's not there to make us feel relaxed. It will tend to weigh up the possibilities and veer sharply towards the worst outcome or the most ferocious option.
We do catastrophize, yes,
catastrophizing, yes, and in the middle of the night that can be particularly potent. There are a number of non-pharmacological ways that we can help sleep, and that they would be broadly based around those pillars of well-being. But more specifically, one can use sleep music to distract the brain from having its own thoughts. Sleep lights, like a Lumi light, which essentially tricks the brain into thinking it's time to sleep by dimming slowly through a sunset colour into darkness. Warm milk can be helpful. The benefits of exercise and diet can be felt in sleep, and in particular not eating within 2 hours of bedtime can be useful, so your body's not busy digesting when you're trying to get off to sleep.
And having a sleep routine, isn't it? If you do the same thing every day, then your brain recognizes that it is sleep time. So you've covered sleep really well, Tom, and the other three pillars, would you like to talk us through the other three pillars of mental well-being?
Certainly. So if we move on to diet and nutrition, this is an area that can have a huge impact on well-being, but different to sleep, the feedback from having a poor diet isn't felt as quickly. It's very easy, because it's accessible, to go and have McDonald's and takeaway, and particularly at a time of stress, one might not feel like cooking a nice home-prepared meal. But it's well recognised that home-prepared food is healthier, it's kinder to our gut. It actually reduces the levels of inflammation in the body if we have a healthy diet. And things like whole grains, lentils, beans, pulses, not too much red meat, really do make an impact. But we tend to feel that over days or even weeks, rather than if we don't sleep, we feel bad straight away. But if we have a poor diet, it doesn't necessarily feed back that quickly.
And I suppose from cancer recovery perspective as well, it's better to have a healthy diet, right? Because number of cancers are linked to obesity.
Yes, certainly. So obesity, I believe, increases the risk of 18 different cancers.
Exactly.
So it would be a prevention, but maintaining a normal body mass would be a good starting point for not getting a cancer. It's not guaranteed, because there are multiple causes of cancer. But a healthy diet is part of well-being, and it's worth noting that vegetarians live on average 7 years longer than meat eaters, and vegans live even longer, an average of 12 years longer than meat eaters. It shows the impact of dietary choices over time.
Cool. So that's number 2. Number 3?
So exercise is a favourite thing of mine, and again, it's very easy not to exercise because there's really no instant feedback if you don't go to the gym or do your physical activity. However, when we do exercise, there are profound physiological changes in our body. Our muscles get stronger, our soft tissues get stronger, bones get stronger, we tend to sleep better. They are numerous and accessible, and the current guidance suggests that even in the absence of a cancer, and probably more as a preventative measure, 30 minutes of weight-bearing exercise per day is really good for us. Weights apparently are better than just doing cardio. The question arises, what if I haven't got time, or what if I do all of my exercise at the weekend? And 3.5 hours of exercise on one day of the weekend is better than no exercise at all, but it's not quite as good as doing 30 minutes a day every day.
And if you're a sufferer and going through treatment, Tom, sometimes it's just not possible, isn't it? Because when you are on treatment or you've had surgery, it's just impossible to do that level of exercise. What do you advise individuals in that situation?
So the exercise is a very broad term, and as doctors we're somewhat discouraged from suggesting particular types of exercise, and I've discussed with people previously before becoming wiser and not suggesting why not try running, why not try swimming. People will say, well, I just don't like doing that. So it is choose an activity that makes you sweaty and a bit out of breath for 30 minutes or more. Once one has a cancer, depending on the type of cancer, it may be physically debilitating. It might prevent certain types of exercise. But one could consider low-level exercise, just taking 30 minutes to do maybe some yoga, gentle swimming, going for a brisk walk. It doesn't have to be pumping iron in the gym. And the benefits of that exercise are probably not exclusively related to the exertion. Taking that 30-minute time where you're doing a distracting activity is probably good for the brain as well as the body.
So I suppose you do whatever you can, but keep your body active as much as you can, depending on the treatments you're having and how you're feeling. Fair?
Yes, yeah, that's very fair.
Perfect. And that brings us to the 4th pillar of mental well-being. If you are a cancer sufferer or a carer who's feeling distressed, anxious, or even depressed, or at the brink of feeling any of these emotions, what do you recommend?
So the community is vital for well-being. We don't do well as humans if we live all by ourselves in a cave and don't have any human contact. Being there to support and communicate with loved ones at this time is vital. Saying the things that you're feeling. If you're not the sufferer, it's your loved one that is suffering. Talking to them, not being afraid to say the things that are on your mind or the things that you're fearing, because often loved ones are scared of very similar things, and sharing that can be quite uplifting. So yes, I've been feeling that too. I'm also worried.
It's just keeping your social networks active, and you'll be surprised as to how much help is around if you don't have very close friends or family. There are other support services. Are there any websites or that you could point people to, any services?
Yeah, so community doesn't have to be friends and family. Church, sporting clubs, other activity clubs, maybe even people at work that you get on well with. It's people that you can go to and communicate well with and have some trust in. Macmillan
Yeah.
nurses do an incredible service.
Incredible.
These people are angels.
Absolutely, they are angels.
And they, when there is a cancer diagnosis, often Macmillan will get involved and can point to other local services that tend to be staffed by kind, empathetic, probably experienced people who can offer not just support but insight and benefits of their experience.
I think the most important thing that I found helped was keeping hope and keeping a positive attitude, because with so much research, what has been possible is that not all cancers have the worst possible outcome. Is that fair to say?
That is absolutely true.
At least 50% cancers, there is a cure, would you say? That's what research would tell us. But even if it's not a cure, and it can still be a remitting and a relapsing illness, but life can be good even between episodes if it is relapsing. But always keep hope. That's what I feel helped me most, actually, keeping hope and keeping that positivity to see what how I could navigate my way. And it's very empowering, especially information, how to do things, what could make things better. It is very empowering when you feel a little bit more in control about the condition. I think the thing that makes us most anxious is the not knowing, the uncertainty. What will happen, what if, why me? And I suppose if you can turn it on its head and see it slightly differently. I often talk about the mind lens, Tom, and you've seen my videos on my YouTube channel. It's about seeing things in a different perspective and how we view the world. And if we can change that perspective, that gives a lot of positivity and hope at such a difficult time.
You are so right. Yeah. If this is where we're at, let's do the best that we can with what we've got. And that would involve communicating well with our loved ones,
Brilliant.
Taking a bit of exercise, looking after our diet, and trying to do the things that help us sleep well.
Perfect. So top tips: sleep well, keep in contact with loved ones, do a bit of exercise.
Something each day.
And the fourth one is
the diet.
Diet.
Make good dietary choices.
Don't
throw it all to the wind and eat McDonald's every day. Have a few beans and pulses.
Those are 4 top tips, and thank you so much, Tom, for speaking to us. Watch my next video here, subscribe to my channel, and if you've liked the video, please like it, share it, tell it to all the people you know.